it actually led me to my biggest lesson in life. And that was that I didn't want to die for a life that I didn't want to live. And
Whoa, I didn't want to die for a life I didn't want to live.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Gosh.
mic drop.
Like that hits all kinds of home, and I appreciate you sharing that. But please go on.
Yeah, so that's why I say it's been my biggest blessing, to be honest. Even at the time, it didn't felt like it, definitely not. But that made me question what type of life I actually wanted to die for. It pushed me to transform my business, transform myself. And due to that transformation, the people around me saw it.
Hello and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. I'm so excited to continue our series on coaches that don't suck. And joining me today, I've got Muriel Vandenbulcke. I love this about running a virtual coaching company is that you get to make relationships all around the world. Muriel, let you introduce yourself. Take 30 seconds. Tell us, where are you from, how to say your name, and your business. Like what brings you to the show?
Well, I'm Muriel Vandenbulcke. I'm from Belgium. I have Congolese roots, and I'm also a mom.
That's
So I'm
cool.
a business and life strategist, and I help entrepreneurs create a strategy that actually works for their business or their private lives. So yeah, that's kind of
That's
it.
kind of it. I like it. It's nice and simple. So I was really excited to invite you to the show, Muriel, because we had a chance to get to know each other through another program, and then we got to know each other a little bit more personally. And I was really blown away by your entrepreneurial experience that you already have and the perspective that you were bringing. So that's why I invited you to the show. Thinking about coaching and coaches, like, what is it that you see in the coaching industry that's really appealing? Because you have experience in marketing, you have experience in fashion, was it, right? Like you've got past
Well,
experience.
also I used to model way back in the day.
Model, she held back on that one. You
Yeah.
modeled. That's really cool.
Yeah, but it was more for fun. The moment it got actually serious, I kind of chickened out because I didn't want it to be labeled as just a pretty face,
Mm,
even though I really like my face. Um, yeah, and I actually had a clothing company before I became a coach.
that's
So
wild.
thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the coaching. Like what drew you to becoming a coach?
Well, actually, this fell onto my lap. I
Mm.
didn't actually choose to become a coach. I became a coach because I needed one to begin with. As you know, I had a marketing agency and that was pretty quickly successful. Like in the first month, my first sales call, I directly closed that client, my second as well. And all of a sudden, I had a business and I wasn't ready for that. And that led me actually to becoming depressed. And I had a suicide attempt in that same year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine, I'm still alive.
I'm I'm glad you did what you needed to do.
Yeah. So it actually led me to my biggest lesson in life. And that was that I didn't want to die for a life that I didn't want to live. And
Whoa, I didn't want to die for a life I didn't want to live.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Gosh.
mic drop.
Like that hits all kinds of home, and I appreciate you sharing that. But please go on.
Yeah, so that's why I say it's been my biggest blessing, to be honest. Even at the time, it didn't felt like it, definitely not. But that made me question what type of life I actually wanted to die for. It pushed me to transform my business, transform myself. And due to that transformation, the people around me saw it and they were like, "How did you do it?" And from one thing became another, and eventually we hopped on a Zoom call just like this one, and we started talking about all the things I went through. And I saw that it actually was helping people. It was helping them way more than I expected. And that's what they were saying, like, you have to share this, you have to share this, you have to do something with this. And then I did another one, and that's how I became a coach. I was like, okay, people really need this, and that's how it fell onto my lap, and I've been loving it since.
I really appreciate you bringing this up because I actually just had another call earlier today with someone, and they were like, "Oh, can I coach people because I'm not a therapist?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, you can coach people if you're not a therapist because you're not therapizing, right? Like you're not doing therapy." And when I think about something as heavy as like a depression diagnosis or a suicide attempt, you really should have a team of people who are helping you, whether it's medical and therapeutic. And the distinction of coaching is really like that you're forward focused and you're focused on that growth and that next step and that goal. And like, that phrase, I didn't want to die for a life I didn't want to live. Like there's so much truth in that statement, but I can see how someone might actually enroll a whole team, of the therapist, the doctor, the coach, the friends, just like it's like a full team effort
It
to come back from
is.
that place.
It definitely is. Like, it was not an easy job. It cost me a lot of sweat, tears, and money, to be honest. And when I look back at it, I think looking back is also the thing that motivates me the most to actually
Mhm.
continue to push forward and to go forward. Because one of my previous mentors, when I was starting my first business, my marketing agency, he always told me, like, whatever you do, document your journey. Document your
That's
journey
good.
to financial freedom, document your journey to time, location freedom, whatever type of freedom you're going for, whatever the goal is, document it from day one. And I did. So when I look back or when I feel unmotivated, those are the videos that I look to. And when I see the hurt in my own eyes, I'm like, I can never go back. So I have to figure this out, and I have to continue to push through and just give it my all.
Hmm.
And giving it your all is hard. It's really hard because there are so many times you just want to give up. Maybe I don't have it in me. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not meant to be this big person. Maybe
Hmm.
I was wrong. And when that little voice of doubt starts creeping in, I'm like, you know what? That's what I used to say as well when I was depressed, that maybe I wasn't deserving of a happy life, or maybe I wasn't strong enough to overcome whatever hurdle I was going through at the time. And apparently I was, because I'm still here.
You are
So,
still here. Yes. And
so
thank goodness
yeah.
you are. That's so powerful because the power of doubt, I feel like that might be a really good title for this episode is like the power of that doubt because the root of the word doubt is duo. And it's like you can do or do not. The doubt is kind of keeping that door open for the possibility of that failure, that you can't do it, that you don't have the stuff, that you don't deserve it. And when I think about my motivation for even doing this series, I've had the Amanda Kaufman Show for years, but I've felt so invigorated to do this particular series on coaches that don't suck because I just hear so much doubt in our industry, like I hear so many people that are like holding back from charging a fair price for their services or holding back from enrolling with an amazing mentor that they can trust because they were burned before. And it's like, this is not an easy path to take, but it's so worth it for the right person if it's like aligned to you to help people to have that impact. It's so amazing. But I would say that the big catalyst for even doing this series was I just wanted to go after the jugular of doubt. Like there's so many ways to be successful. So Muriel, catch us up a little bit on what have you built so far with your business and where are you headed next? This one, the coaching business.
Yes. So what I've built so far is actually I'm still at the early ages of developing everything, in my opinion. I'm
So
not
am
Tony
I. I'm only
Robbins.
8 years in.
Okay, okay, I have to stop saying that. Again, doubts,
Doubts,
again,
yeah.
there it is. There it is. But yeah, where I'm at, I'm actually at a good place, I would say. For me personally, I can coach myself whenever I want. So that's already a great benefit. And the transformations I'm having with my clients are above and beyond than anything I would imagine. And actually, even the other day, I received a message from one of my clients and it just brought me to tears because I was like, again, the doubt again. I'm seeing so much progress in him. And he was just like, oh, my therapist told me this, or this person told me that, and they don't seem to see the progress. And I was like, okay, but nobody can actually be you. What do you think? And for me, having those conversations and seeing that person he was like, you know what? Actually, I believe I made progress and I'm actually proud of it. And I know like 6 months ago, he wasn't saying that. He was even afraid to say what he actually thought, or even saying, like, oh, this person said that to me and that hurt me.
Mm.
And for me, being able to help people have those transformations is the only goal I have with my business, helping people actually be aligned with who they truly are and no longer be afraid with who they are. So that's why I'm saying I'm in a good place. Of course, it can get better, but of course, it could be way worse. And I'm changing lives one life at a time, one person at a time. And I think that's the goal as a coach, to just have impact.
I think I love that. I think that the goal really is best when we are really connected with the journey. Because to your point, like there's so many levels and layers to how we do things, and you can kind of look at the different levels. Like, for example, maybe one day you bring on more coaches to help more people in the way that you help. There's next levels and next levels and next levels of impact, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last 8 years is that no matter where you are, there's so much further to go. Right.
It
And it's not
is.
like to say that from an exhausted place, but more so like there's all this potential, right, for where you go. And the thing is that you don't get access to that potential until you're willing to help a person. Because if you can't help one person, or you're not willing to help one person, or you're not willing to let it be known that you're willing to help one person, then you're literally stopping yourself from all this other potential that you could be accessing. I love that. So, Muriel, what would you say are the three things that make a coach, in other words, three things that make a coach not suck?
Well, I think as a coach that it's important to be a guide and let your client be the hero of his own journey. So it's so easy for us to go into this fixing mode. Do you get what I mean by,
Yes. Fixer.
yes, the fixer? But then you rob the person of actually growth, I would say, of making progress and also valuing that progress and also seeing a different side of themselves. So I think it's important as a coach to let the person actually be and find their own solutions and find their own answers and help them ask the right questions as well. I would say that that's the second thing, to really help them ask those questions they're afraid of and help them see why they shouldn't be afraid of those questions. Because at the end of the day, if you're afraid of yourself, that's an issue.
Mhm.
And it's not an issue you cannot fix. It's an issue only you have the solution to because it's you. And I think also the best thing for a coach is to be vulnerable as well. I would say that that would be the third thing, that a good coach is not afraid to be vulnerable and be like, you know what? I've been in that position and I did worse than you in some cases. And to
Mm.
just also own that and show them that I did it this way, but you can do it your way. All I want to show you is that you're able of doing it. And if I did it, anybody can do it. To remove that barrier that I'm above you, because that's also something I have experienced with other coaches, myself, or mentors I've had, or in programs I've been, or people I have met. that had invested more capital maybe, or made more money, or however they justified it, but they would put themselves above me. I think as a coach, it's important to work with each other and form a team. I'm not the leader taking you to destination ABC. No, I'm next to you. We're walking
Mhm.
together. Again, the guide, and showing.
Exactly. Yeah, like I think leadership and coaching is a really interesting conversation because for years I was just like I thought I was walking with people like you're saying, but you're saying like lead a process, but not necessarily the person. Like let the person lead themselves. But then our responsibility is to lead some kind of a process. Because for years I had none. And then I would be kind of surprised when people were like, well, I didn't really get the outcomes that I was looking for. And it's like, well, okay, I could have had stronger leadership, self-leadership in that process. But to your point, like progress really is found in your own permission to do things. And, most people, if they could figure it out all by themselves or felt supported in figuring it out all by themselves, they would already be there and they're not. And so, I think we all have had that boss, that horrible boss. We don't need more bosses in our life. We need more supporters.
Exactly. We need more cheerleaders.
Yeah, more cheerleaders. I love it. I love it. Well, Mariel, how can folks follow you?
Yeah, they can follow me on Instagram. So that is Muriel Vandenbulcke. It's spelled Muriel
You make
M.
me feel better.
Yeah, it's not the most common name even in Belgium, but let's have that for our coffee time maybe.
We'll have another podcast sometime.
Yeah, my name is Muriel Vandenbulcke. Muriel. That's the first part. And then Vandenbulcke, it's a long name. Vandenbulcke.
Perfect.
So
Awesome.
that's
And
it.
we'll keep that below the show notes for you as well, dear listener. And thank you so much for joining me today. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review so that others can hear this really inspirational story. Muriel, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, listener. Don't forget to leave that review and to subscribe as well. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.